Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, I am calling in the book of Genesis.
Yes.
Cain and Able. All right, Cain and Able. Cain rises up, kills Abel.
Mm-hmm.
Then he says his punishment is to be banned, but he says it's too great because he'll basically be killed. Now, my question is, he's talking about cities of refuge. Where do these cities come from? There's only 3 people on earth at this time, as far as my understanding, because I'm trying to read in there what other scriptures that might show who else is there. So what other cities, how were their cities, who's going to kill him, because there's nobody there but his mom and dad. So Where did the other people come from?
Yeah, great question. And it's also goes along with the question that you hear a lot is who became Cain's wife? How did Cain find a wife? Where was she? Since it was, Cain and Abel and mom and dad. So what's up with that? You'll find in the book of Genesis that Moses will take us through great leaps of time in just a few verses. For instance, if you take Genesis chapters 1 through chapter 11, we go through huge amounts of time in just a few chapters. 4 gigantic epical events happen in those first 11 chapters: the creation, the fall, the flood, and the Tower of Babel. Those are 4 huge historical defining moments in the history of mankind, but they're covered in 11 short chapters because Moses takes such great leaps of time in explaining things. What you're reading about there is what did become true, that cities of refuge did develop. And let's remember, these people lived for centuries. They lived, Methuselah, trying to remember, 960 something years. They had not yet been affected by the atmospheric change that resulted after the flood. So they lived for centuries. And who was it that could have killed Cain? Well, his siblings and their descendants and their descendants, because, we consider a generation to be 40 years or 80 years, maybe sometimes 100 years. But, back in those days, Adam and Eve and those that came after them, they saw their descendants into many generations of time. They saw great grandchildren because they lived so long. So God knew that Adam and Eve would reproduce and would continue to have children, and those children would have children, and that the human population would really skyrocket. So God was saying that as the population grew, he put that mark on Cain to protect his life, because guarantee you, he was not popular with his siblings or his siblings' descendants because he had killed a brother. So he needed that protection. But that's how he found a wife. Back then, that's the only way that you could marry, was to intermarry with siblings. It was only as time went on and Moses came along and changes in the genealogical makeup of mankind took place, where if you got with somebody in your immediate family, there were mutations and bad things happened with the offspring. But before that, that was the only way that the human population could develop, and that's how it went down. So, your thoughts, Derald?
In Genesis 5:4, it says that Adam and Eve had sons and daughters. And when you think about, we have a family in our church, and I think the sister is maybe in her late 30s or mid 30s, right in there, and they have 10 children already. So they have 10 children, and as a married couple, and you think about how many children could Adam and Eve have. I mean, they're as close to perfection as you can get, even though there's the fall, right? But as Jeff said, they're going to live 900 years or so. And how many children can you produce in just 50 years of childbearing, 100 years of childbearing? So when we read the passage that we're given, it's multiple kids have already been born at that time. And then, of course, Abel's killed by Cain. So that's where we have to realize it. So Genesis 5:4 is probably your answer. Jeff?
Yeah, we see that by Genesis 6, we're told things like violence covered the earth. Well, that statement alone lets us know that human beings had already covered the known world just in 6 chapters. So I think the answer for you, Jim, is along those lines. Does that help?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that brings. See, I'm thinking, if you read it, if you take it in, just chapter by chapter or verse by verse, and then it looks like he might have been 19 years old, and he's whacking his brother who's 17, and it's like, wait a minute, where did these other people come from then? But you're absolutely right, because you are correct there. Generations like that, 9 months. It only takes 9 months, and they could. You're absolutely right. I got you now. I'm with you. All right, there we go.